Hi, I'm James. I am a reflective intuitive. That's basically just a universal mirror that talks. And so, what my message is today, anything that I share is simply to activate within others whatever it is that they're meant to hear. So, today I wanted to share about just thinking about in terms of all these spiritual conceptual ideas that people are moving towards. There's like 5D, quantum jumping interdimensionally, simulation, raising your frequency, following your joy. All of these things are these narratives, and they all have their own language and their own way of speaking. So I'm going to speak to this from the idea of being an activator. So what I've created is this idea of paradigm A and paradigm B. Paradigm A is just simply the popular notion right now. And it's basically the egoic mind, the analytical mind that's in charge of our reality, popularly. It's just popular opinion. And so we're moving into this thing called paradigm B. So in paradigm A, that's the giver and the taker. So that's also the helper and the helped. And you can see from that point of view, that's where the gurus come in, because we have all these people like coaches and gurus and experts that are trying to organize reality as if there is a right and a wrong. And this is basically saying, hey, this is how we should put it together under this premise. When we move to the paradigm B, we begin to remember that all of this is already within us. It is about finding our authentic self and then just playing that authentic self out in the world. And so at that point of view, we don't have givers and takers. We have activators and receivers. And that's why part of the process of getting to the paradigm B is to be a very good receiver. When we're doing the gratitude and the appreciations, these are the things that we're calling in to be a good receiver of what is out there, all the abundance that is already in this universe, and recognize it that's already within us. It's a good metaphor is cannabis. And I'm not just talking about the THC kind of cannabis, but the cannabinoids. The cannabinoids are THC, CBD, CBG, there's lots of different cannabinoids. But what a lot of people don't know is that we actually have receptors within our bodies that are waiting, cannabinoid receptors that are waiting for cannabinoids. So that metaphorically is the new reality that we understand, is that we're not learning anything new, but we're just releasing and remembering what we've always known. So it's more of an articulation, not a teaching. We're not growing, we're expanding. And when we expand, that's something very different than when we're growing. And I can expand a little bit on that. So how does this relate? So they all kind of go, follow your joy, 5D, raise your vibration, all of these kind of things. They all kind of summarize down that we're going to have a different experience in these new ways of interacting with reality. Create your own reality is another one. So what are we trying to do? Well, if you're doing the Esther Hick stuff, you're trying to get in your high flying disc, and Bashar and the joy, and those are about finding the activations within us. And that's when we start to remember. If you resonate with this at all, you're probably remembering. I'm not teaching you anything new. And any kind of feedback that you would give or articulate back, any kind of comment that you have something articulated for you, then if you share that, it would be articulated for me. And this happens to me also line up with me being my joy. I love just perusing the universe. And when I finally realized that I was an activator, that I don't need to figure out how to be right. So there's no situation where I need to absolutely be right about something. And I know people are going and picking up, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. You're saying, wait, no, you want to be right if you're standing on a cliff, and if you go right or left, that's, yeah, I think if you don't get it, then we're good. So anyway, so what are we doing in the activation system? We are expanding. We are expanding our consciousness. So it is very simple, but here's how we make it difficult. Because in paradigm A, we're so used to being taught that there needs to be something outside of us, above us, that we've collectively created all these stories within us, belief systems in us, that we have to look outside of ourselves to get validation, to be right, to argue. And then when we get away from that, that's the growth. So in the growth mindset, let me give this example. So the idea is that what ends up happening when we get on a path, and we are basically just expanding our consciousness through our experiences, but we can also start picking up lots of concepts, and we can get stuck with those concepts, and we can, and that's part of the program. So this isn't about saying that B is right and A is wrong. It's simply understanding that this is how the function of the universe works. And so these are helpers over here in A. And so let's say this is like pure A, all helper. There's somebody to help, and there's somebody that's in need. Then we go to the very other side, and then there's people that are just activators and receivers. And so basically they understand the idea that they're not there to be a teacher. They're simply there to do their art, to share their creation with the rest of the world. And so in paradigm A, the coaches are looking for their audience. And in paradigm B, the audience just appears when the creation is created. So if you resonate with this, you're the audience, and you found this message. And it's not because the only reason is because you're having things articulated within you, resonance. You're finding that resonance. So why this is important is that we can get really stuck in a stage, especially on a spiritual path and the spiritual ego kind of thing, where we're not expanding. We're not expanding like we can, because if we're still in the growth mindset, we might deal with the fact that we are going to be contracted. That means go into the dark night of the soul, or just have an experience that's heavy and then break out of it. But the thing is when we're trying to grow, when we are in that contraction, that's when we will be flailing about looking for another concept. I have to be motivated by something outside of myself in order to grow. I gotta get to my guru to tell me what to do. I gotta find a book that's going to get me to make me be able to articulate what's going on. And then we get stuck, and what ends up happening is we have a contraction, but then we get up to neutral, or we might get a little bit of clarity. But the idea is to switch our mindset and seed ourselves to begin to expand, start putting our attention on our expansion. So recently I went through a contraction, and I knew, and I was very aware that I was contracted, and the things coming out of my mouth were surprising the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my God, why am I saying these kind of things? But I recognized, and I had the awareness that I was just constricted, and then I'm seeding myself that this is going to pass. And then I'm looking at and seeding myself with all the things that I know. I know that I want to be in cahoots with what is. I know that this is happening, and the acceptance of that. They're just doing their thing. So if I'm in my head in that contraction around a relationship or something like that, I can understand they're just doing their thing. And to this, when we break free and we're not holding on and clinging to some concepts or some kind of new way of looking at things or complicating it, it's like a rubber band effect. So we go from that contraction, and then we slingshot into this really big wave of expansion. And this is the high-flying disc. This is that's that idea that we come off that high-flying disc, go into that contraction, and then when we return, like this elevation, I like to call it buoyancy, begins to come. But what comes from that is far more clarity. And the thing that if we're not holding on to and we're not processing a lot of new concepts, if we're just allowing ourselves to experience the contraction, then that clarity that we have will be focused all upon novel activations within ourselves. So do you see that? If we are trying to grow, we are actually getting in our own way because we're going to confuse things. We're going to be in another mind game, another analytical way of activating this or working with the system to get through things. So the idea is really getting to the knowing, the remembering that everything that you're going to experience is already within you. You're like a little potential. You're a piece of potential energy, and we realize that once we start remembering, and that's the other thing is it's a competitive nature in paradigm A, because there's a need and somebody to help that need, to fix that need. When we get into the paradigm B, it's about collaboration, and then all we're doing is we're activating each other. We are universal mirrors for each other. We have this understanding, and then this just expands us even more. And so that's why I love this joy, is because when I have a session, like I just had a session, and we had conversations. So what I'm doing is I'm asking people that when I share what's been revealed, then find the articulation that find within yourself and share back. So they find something that was already there. It was just waiting to be rediscovered and looked at again. And they share their observation of it. And then that feeds another piece of activation within me. And that's why it is my joy. It is so yummy, because then we are collaborating to help each other expand and become more of our authentic self. We're not being good anymore. We're becoming real. We're just playing out the character without an identity. That's all we're doing. So if you have any articulations that came from this message, please leave a comment or connect with me. Go to the website paradigmb.org, and let's activate this. Hope you have an amazing day.